There
Yes.
is a biggest IPO debuting tomorrow. Elon Musk, the master of the stock market, the greatest entrepreneur of our time. He will be debuting SpaceX.
Yes.
It's currently valued at 1.7 trillion.
Correct.
Stock is set to open tomorrow at $135. But we all know before it reaches the layman like us, it will be close to $200 tomorrow. What is your take? I'll tell you, I had over 20 people call me within the past 4 days
Yeah.
to ask me if they should invest in SpaceX. Some of these folks, I don't even know if they're investors or not, or they just want.
They're looking for the quick thing the news has been talking about. The human psychology and the
Uh,
quick
I
wins.
don't even know where these
Human
folks
beings
are
and their
coming from.
drive for quick wins.
Yep. But the excitement, and if you see, Bitcoin has been trending down. A lot of people are closing their, trimming down their crypto holding in order to take big position into SpaceX because they don't want to lose as they lost in with Tesla.
Right.
So right now there is just enormous anxiety out there. There is too much hype. Don't get me wrong. It might come in tomorrow, go up 40%. The next couple months, go up 100%. You and I, and even all the investors out there, they don't have a clue. 30% has been positioned for retail investors. Institutional investors, they don't have to say anything with respect to what position they're holding because they don't have, per the SEC regulations, they can't move the market based on what they are buying. What is your take on SpaceX?
That's an interesting question because there is nobody who is remotely interested in investing, or who is, even if they are not active investors. But if you've just been watching the news, the only thing that has been on the news other than Donald Trump and Iran is the IPO for SpaceX. And the reason why the SpaceX IPO is so popular is because of the man who is behind that IPO. And for those who don't understand, an IPO stands for Initial Public Offering. So what an IPO is basically, it is when a company which used to be private is going to become public. Public now means the company wants to offer its shares for the public to buy ownership of that company. And by becoming public, it can trade on the New York Stock Exchange, on the NASDAQ, on different exchanges around the world. And because the company is becoming public, then it has to undergo some regulatory, it has to submit itself to some regulatory mechanisms which the government seeks to protect consumers like you and me from not getting scammed. Now, when we're talking about SpaceX, I think what is interesting for people to understand about SpaceX is, if you ask me a direct question, should I buy SpaceX? Yes. But should I buy SpaceX at its IPO day? No. That's what I believe. And I'll explain to you, let me break it down to you why. The reason is because SpaceX is valued right now, and the price at which they anticipate selling that company at the IPO is based on future outcomes, not on any proven track record yet. People must understand something. SpaceX is a combination of three companies. You have the internet company in it, you have the rocket, the reusable rocket company, and you have another company as part of those, right? The key thing to realize is, of those three companies, only the internet company has generated a profit. I think last year it generated $18 billion. SpaceX has cumulatively lost $37 billion since its inception. There is no single company in the history of America that went public with that amount of losses. Number one. Number two, SpaceX is going to offer a very small amount of its shares to the public. So based on the volume of demand and the anticipated frenzy, the price is just going to be astronomical. In fact, some analysts are projecting that it might end up costing about $1,000 for a SpaceX share within the first few days, right? The third thing is that SpaceX as a company, other than the internet company, The other companies have just been burning through cash. They haven't proven yet that it's a good business. Because one of the things people must realize is you must separate the company from the stock. It can be a great company, but can still be a very poor investment. And you must understand that IPOs come with excitement, with hype, but with a lot of volatility. So for anybody going into this IPO, you need to really be clear about what your goal is. If you are a long-term investor, what I would do, because I'm a long-term investor, is I will wait out this IPO. I will give it about 6 to 9 to even a year. Let the price settle. Let the back and forth volatility, the noise, the excitement, and all of that, let it settle. Let me see where the true valuation by the market is of that company. Most of the time, statistically, about 50 to 60% of companies within the first 12 months, their prices drop by over 60% from their IPO price. So I will be owning SpaceX. Let nobody tell you any different. I plan to take a big position because it's a generational company. Let's be honest. Nobody is going to change space economy like SpaceX. SpaceX is the first company to really make it seem like, not really seem, but to make it possible for us to feel that it is possible for some of these things to happen. Yes, some of the details of it, moving 1 million people to live in space, and we don't know about those things yet, right? But just the fact that they are thinking and doing certain things, reducing the cost of space travel, all of that stuff is already a very powerful business model. So, Dr. Dimo, for people going into the IPO, it is important for them to understand this dynamic. SpaceX could become one of the most important companies of our generation. Nobody really knows, but valuation still matters. The way SpaceX is valued at its IPO, the way they are projecting to value it at $1.7 trillion, there is nothing in the business outcomes and business results and business revenue that justifies that valuation. So we know that about 50% of the valuation is based on the fact that Elon Musk is leading the company. Another important thing that people must also pay attention, right? You don't really have to catch the first 10% move when you're trying to build life-changing wealth. The people who invested in Amazon when it IPO'd in 2000 and in 1995, I think, if they invested 10,000, they'll be worth about what? Is it 2 million today or something, Dr. Dimo?
Yeah, it's about 2.8 million.
Good. But the people who invested in the year 2000 are still millionaires. They might not be worth 2.8 million, but they are worth maybe 1.5. But what they did is most likely they didn't ride some of the early volatility as much. And because the people who invested at IPO, I can tell you 80% of them sold out their stock and abandoned Amazon and ran. Especially in the 2000s when Amazon dropped by 95%, right?
Yeah.
So I really believe that SpaceX is going to change global economy for space travel. But people need to be a little patient. One other final caveat, and everything I'm sharing here are the things, are the ways I think about SpaceX and how I'm going to approach investing in SpaceX. Another thing that is important to note with SpaceX is that Elon Musk has significant amount of veto power. He has in fact, based on what I read in the IPO documents and all of that, retail investors, outside investors, they don't really have too much in the decision making of that company. They cannot really influence it much. Elon Musk is the boss. He's the capo de tutti capi. He decides what happens, how things are going to happen. So you need to be comfortable with all these different ramifications, and then you can own the company for the long term. But I believe SpaceX would probably be a company that, if I take some significant positions in it, I think 4 generations after me will continue to eat from it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Our rapid fire round.